Hi everyone! Now, the last time we talked about the first stress hormone called adrenaline and how it forces us to physically move. And after it's done its job, it drains away relatively quickly. Now, the second main stress hormone is called cortisol, and here's how it works. Now, as we mentioned in the previous video, we're still standing in a forest, the wind is howling, and at any time, any of the other trees could be ready to fall down on us. It's potentially very dangerous. Therefore, based on the information coming from all of our senses and our reptilian brain, it reacts to the sense of danger as it must, it has to, it's been designed to do just that one thing, and instructs our mainframe brain to keep our stress response activated. It does that because at the same time that our adrenal glands produce the adrenaline, they also produce the second stress hormone, which is called cortisol. Now, among other things, it keeps our body revved up, alert, and on guard duty for as long as it takes for the perceived danger to disappear. But our reptilian brain also stays reactive because there must be a danger present, because there's cortisol inside our body, right? Right. It is also the hormone that is signaling the body to keep producing glucose from the liver to fuel the highly physical fight or flight response until it's not needed anymore. Now, ongoing increases of stressful events in our life gradually increase the levels of cortisol inside our body, which also gradually ramps up our stress response to the next level and the increasing levels of stress. Now, we can feel that by a gradual increase in our daily stress levels that simply don't fade away. But it also includes automatically ramping up our immune and inflammatory systems, even when there is nothing for them to react to. So at times, do you feel waves of fear, anxiety, and overwhelmed or worried at any time, and there is no obvious reason why? Always thinking about worst case scenario, not sleeping at night, mind revving until the early hours of the morning, and you wake up in the middle of the night and your heart is rapidly beating, and you can feel your high blood pressure? Oh, for goodness sake. Now, those reactions are common results of your stress response, which now includes the elevated cortisol levels, keeping you on alert, on guard duty, in order to find the perceived danger before it finds you. Yeah. Now, it's a very ancient response, and no wonder you can't sleep. Now, as a survival strategy, to make certain the danger or threat has gone, and just in case the danger was to return for any reason, the cortisol stays elevated by draining away very, very slowly. It's like a bucket of water with a hole in the bottom the size of a pin. No matter what we do, and even though we have even moved away from those stressful events in our life, it still takes time to drain. Now, all the chemicals and hormones required for this action flood through our body and our blood system. Common sense. Not a problem in the short term, but if it continues elevated long term, it damages the lining of our arteries and our brain cells and negatively alters the internal environment of our body, which is crucial for DNA and genetic expression, perfect cell division, replication, and cell repair. Now, that's important, as specific body cells are naturally being replaced all the time. In fact, different cells being replaced every 24 hours to every 10 years, right throughout our body. It changes completely. So if we're feeling highly stressed for long periods of our life, here comes the 95% of all those human health issues we mentioned earlier. Now, when we've been living with elevated stress levels for months or even years, they begin to feel normal. So much so that many people believe their body naturally operates at this high level. Well, maybe and maybe not, but chances are it's not. It turns out that this is also a common problem for high-performing athletes who are always stressing their body to maximize results. Now, cortisol plays a huge role in creating those feelings we get of being anxious, overwhelmed, and even depressed. Who would have known? The link between mental health and our stress response is scientifically well proven. And as we'll talk about later, it turns out that anxiety is also nature's way of keeping us alive through a highly stressful environment, which is also supported by elevated cortisol levels. And just to make the point, anxiety is neither the result of genetic defects or disease. I hope you heard that one. It's the product of stress in our life, and more on that later. Now remember, the cortisol is elevated because something is perceived to be a threat by our reptilian brain, and there is no way the cortisol will reduce so our body can relax until our senses are sending our reptilian brain the signals that the coast is clear. That means, as a survival response, cortisol is always ready to trigger you back into instant action if required, but also always ready to fade away along with those stressful feelings when it's not required anymore. When it's not required anymore. You got it? So, if we're living a stressful lifestyle, then we are forever emotionally and psychologically on guard duty for something that may or may not ever happen. And that is extremely wearing on every part of our body, which includes our brain. Now remember, over thousands of years, we have evolved to be able to cope with approximately only 10 stressful events per day, and not the 150 plus we try to cope with in our daily modern lifestyle. And one last time, the cortisol stress hormone is elevated because something or things are perceived to be a threat by our reptilian brain, the P brain. Our job is to find the perceived threat and remove it from our world and our thought process. Okay? Nice job, everyone. We'll see you next time. Okay, bye-bye.